everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm just gonna preface this video by saying if I sound weird, guess who's ill again? Me! So excited. No, I've just got a cold, but I just sound a little bit nasally, so I apologise. But today's video, I thought I would talk you guys through some of my summer book recommendations. I feel like readers and non-readers alike, in summertime, all we want to do is sit down outside with a nice book, a nice cold drink, and it is just the perfect vibes. So I thought I would talk you guys through some summer reads that I have enjoyed in summertime, or books that I wish I'd read in summertime, or books that just have particularly summery vibes. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first books I'm going to be talking about are You Are the View and The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. These are both such amazing summery reads. I would say Jessica Joyce just knows how to create such an idyllic setting, such like gorgeous characters. Both these books were such enjoyable reads. So a quick synopsis for you. You Are the View is basically about this girl who was really close with her grandma. She recently passed away and she's been looking through her grandma's old things and she saw these love letters between her grandma and this other guy, and so she goes to meet him and she ends up going on a trip that her grandma had always planned to take with her past love and his grandson, and I'm sure you can guess what happens from that. But this one is just super heartwarming. It was so lovely to read. This one is about this group of friends, and two of them had dated and they split up I think it's like a few years ago, or I don't know, but they split up and they tried to kind of like hide their animosity to each other from their friend. And now their friend is getting married and they have to plan his wedding together. And through their kind of forced proximity to each other, they learn a lot about what went wrong in their relationship, and they learn a lot about how they have changed since and how, you know, they're in a place to be together again. So that is this one, and I loved these both so much. So if you have not yet picked up a Jessica Joyce book, I would highly recommend. They are such just great reads. Next, we actually have a newer book, which is Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonam Young. Hannah Bonam Young is, I think, on her way to becoming one of my favourite authors. I read Out on a Limb, I think like a couple years ago now, and this one is like a book following on from Out on a Limb. So if you haven't read that one, I would highly recommend. But this one is about Sarah and Caleb, and they are high school sweethearts, and they've now grown up and they've been married for a long time, and they're kind of realizing that there are various things in their marriage that aren't really working. So they effectively go on this couples retreat, almost as a bit of a last resort, to figure out what's going wrong in their marriage and kind of find themselves along the way, but also kind of find new ways to fall in love with each other. And again, this one is just such a lovely read. I cried, I laughed, I loved this book. It was so good. Next, we have a book by one of my favourite authors, which is Summer Romance by Annabel Monaghan. Now, I would honestly recommend any of her books for summertime, but this one is my favourite, so I am recommending this one here. This one is about Ali, and she is a single mother, and I believe in this one she ends up dating her best friend's brother, unless I remember that wrong, but I think that's right. And he just kind of makes her life easier and kind of honestly like shows her how to like set boundaries and just like live her life a bit more. And I don't know, this one I just remember again crying, feeling everything. It was so heartwarming, so sweet, and as I will always say, Annabel Monaghan just knows what she's doing. Like, she paces things perfectly. Like, yeah, love it. And it's just, it was so good, so good. Next we have One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, which I have talked about I think in like the past 2 videos, I don't know. But obviously this is a newer release. This is obviously my first Carly Fortune read, but this one was just like summer perfection. It is about Charlie and Alice, and basically Alice goes with her grandma to the lake where she used to go on holiday as a child, and Charlie and his brother had gone to the lake as well as kids, and essentially Alice is a photographer and she took a picture of Charlie, his brother, and his brother's wife, fiance, I can't remember, but she takes a picture of them on their yellow boat, and that picture kind of launches her photography career. And so she's come back with her grandma to kind of cheer her grandma up because she's having a hard time. And this book just tackles so many interesting topics. It tackles grief, it tackles kind of career struggles, finding yourself, it kind of tackles like forgiving yourself, but it's also just so lovely in that like they're decorating the house together, he's building a tree house for his future niece or nephew. It's just perfection. And they go like jet skiing, they go on the boat, they go cliff jumping, so it really is an amalgamation of so many different things. It's summer in a little perfect romantic capsule, and I loved this book from start to finish. Next we have A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. Now this one is such an interesting read. I feel like people slept on this book and no one talked about it in the way that it deserved to be talked about. But if you're looking for a summery romance with like a little magical twist, this is for you. If you don't know anything about Ashley Poston's writing, she writes a lot of magical realism, so a lot of her books are romances, but they do have like a little magical element in them. And this one is particularly like, I think especially as a reader, because I feel like we all wish that this would happen to us, is so cool. So this book is about Eileen, and on her way to her annual book club retreat she stumbles upon Elorriton. I never knew how to say it, but basically it is the town from her favourite book series of all time. And for some reason she gets there and all the characters are there, the town is exactly how she imagined it, but there's one person who sticks out like a sore thumb. And that is his name on here? I can't remember his name. But basically there's one guy there and she's like, I don't remember this character, like, and the author of her books, you know, had passed away, so she was like, oh, is this a character that she'd like started writing and like that she just didn't get to finish? And there's just so many twists and turns, and it's just perfection. I loved this one. Like, people didn't talk about it enough, but if you're looking for a nice like summery small town magical realism book where she's like, and the funny thing is as well, like she's like talking to these characters that she's like fallen in love with, and she's trying to pretend like she doesn't know everything about them, but she's like befriending them at the same time. It's so cool. Highly recommend this one. Now the next one, I'm trying to incorporate some other books into this video in case you happen to not be a romance reader, but this one I feel like is a book for everyone, and that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I put off reading this for a very long time because I just didn't think it was going to be my kind of book, and I loved this. I think I'm someone who's not the biggest historical fiction person. I'm not the biggest into Greek mythology and things like that, but this one, her writing just had me hooked straight away. I read this so quick. But this talks about the kind of love affair between Achilles and Patroclus, and it is, I'm putting this in here because the vibes in this book, I guess, of like ancient Greece felt quite summery to me reading it. I do wish I'd read this in the summer. I think I read this in the winter when I got to it, but it is just so jam-packed, full of emotion. Like, you watch these young boys, you know, kind of form this really beautiful friendship that then turns into a relationship, and the love and sacrifice that they make for each other is just a really beautiful read. I will say you will sob. That's all I'm gonna say. Be prepared to cry your eyes out, because if you have read this and you didn't cry your eyes out, there's something wrong with you. But really recommend this book. Next, we have a young adult read, and that is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. I read this at the end of summer a couple of years ago, and I've always heard amazing things about it, so I was a little bit skeptical going into it as to whether I'd really like it or not, but it was so enjoyable. This book follows Meredith and her family's, their annual family vacation, and basically she meets this new guy who turns out actually I won't say that, I won't spoil it, but she meets this guy and he gets involved in their like family game. They have this game every year and they get to know each other, they fall in love, and it's just summer. This book is just summer personified. It is so great. Again, like a really easy, quick read. It's again like tackles a lot of interesting topics, but mostly fluffy, fun, summery, cute. What else could you ask for? Now we have a book that I feel like no one talks about or even talks about this author, and that is Elena Armas. She is one of the most slept on authors in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, her books are not my favourite, like I don't tend to think of them, but when I'm reading them I have always had a really, really great time. So this one is The Fiancé Dilemma. This is the most recent one that I read, and again it was just a very summery vibe. It was like a small town, and if I'm right, is she the mayor? This is about Josie, and she basically accidentally calls this guy her fiance to stop a PR nightmare, and he then goes along with it, and then they're like, oh shit, we actually have to plan a wedding now. And it's just a really cute, fun book. This story was, to me, very summery. Again, everyone loves a bit of fake dating, you know, we love the kind of push and pull of, is this real, is it fake, are they actually like pretending, you know. But this one as well, like the ending is really heartwarming because we kind of find out some things that just like make your heart melt, and it's just a really enjoyable read. If you haven't picked up an Elena Armas book, I would really highly recommend it because her books are so quick and easy and fun, and again like just very, very enjoyable. Like I've always had a good time reading her books. Next we actually have, unexpectedly, one of my favourite books of all time, and that is Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. I read this when it came out and I read it in I think 2 sittings. Bear in mind she's a chunky one, but I love this book. This book follows Ellie and Raph, and Ellie is Raph's son's nanny, and they go on a family vacation to, I want to say it was Hawaii, and it's just again like so cool. I mean, anyone who knows me knows I love a single dad romance, and obviously Raph is a single dad, so that's check number 1. Forced proximity, check number 2, because they go on the holiday together, and he's really grumpy, she's Miss Sunshine. It's just, this book had everything for me. Like it made me giggle, it made me cry, it just like made my heart like hurt. I loved this book, and it kind of incorporates like music. Like I'm pretty sure, if I remember rightly, like she teaches his son music and they start writing songs, but also I really identified with Ellie as a character, and so I loved reading about her. But this was just, again, a really enjoyable read. I will say more of a slow burn, but I do love a slow burn, so for me that's perfect. But if you don't love a slow burn, I wouldn't recommend this book. But all the other books that I've mentioned so far are pretty quick romances, so this one is for the slow burn girlies. And yeah, there's really just not any aspect of this book that I didn't love. So, and also the cover is just, she's gorgeous. I can't wait for the next book in this series to come out in August. Now, I couldn't do this video really without talking about Emily Henry. Now, I will just say, literally every single Emily Henry book is summery. You could pick up any single one of them and you would get the summery vibes that I'm sure we're all craving at this time of year. But I have to talk about my favourite one, and that is Grey with Beautiful Life, which is her most recent release. This one I did have in a video, and so I'd go back and watch that if you want to see my full unfiltered reaction to it. But this book, I'm not gonna lie, I would actually go as far as to say that this might have been my favourite book of the year. This one truly has everything. I will say this one is more of a fiction than it is of a romance, so if you go into this purely expecting romance, you might be a little bit disappointed, and I think that's why some of the reviews were skewed when this came out. But there is a romance in here, but it also is kind of, you get the most of both worlds, because this one has almost like two stories in one. Like, there's a bit of a mystery, there's a bit of competition, there's romance. It's just so interesting. I had the best time reading this. Also, I loved Hayden and his hugs. If you've read, you know. But yeah, this book is just truly like perfection. I have zero negative things to say about it, but it's so summery. I believe it, if I remember right, it's like set in like a beach town. I can't remember where. Does it say where? It's called Little Crescent Island, but I am actually hoping to reread this soon, and so that will actually be in a video as well, to keep your eyes peeled when I do reread it. But yeah, I couldn't recommend this book enough. But literally any Emily Henry book is gonna give you the summer vibes that I'm sure you crave, so pick up any of them, but I'm just gonna say you should pick up this one. Next we have another one of my favourite authors of all time, and that is Abby Jimenez. Now, I would specifically recommend this one for summer. I mean, it is quite literally in the name, just for the summer. But this one is great if you want the ultimate golden retriever boyfriend. This one follows Emma and Justin. Emma is a travel nurse, I think, and she sees a thread from Justin on Reddit, and they basically realise they both have the same thing, where when they date someone, the next person that person meets is the person they marry. And so they're kind of like, oh, well, if we date each other, then when we break up, we will meet the love of our life. And so they go on all these dates, and lo and behold, I'm sure you can guess what happens. They fall for each other. But if you want to see a guy who goes to the absolute like lengths to make this girl happy and make her feel wanted and safe, he is perfect. He is hilarious. He is what we all want in a boyfriend or a partner. So you just have to pick this up. And again, it's set on, is it Lake Michigan? Nope. Lake Minnetonka. And it's like a little remote island cottage. It's so good. You have to pick it up, okay? Pick it up. Now the next ones, or the next recommendations I have are all series. So first we have the When in Rome series by Sarah Adams, which starts with When in Rome, then Practice Makes Perfect, and then Beg, Borrow or Steal. These books are the perfect speedy short town romances. Now, if you're someone who prefers a closed door romance, you're gonna love the first two because they're closed door. This one is a little bit steamier, I will say, but oh my god, loved every single one of these. I'm pretty sure all of these books I read in one sitting because they were that good. I was obsessed. This one follows, is it Noah and Amelia Rose. Amelia is a famous pop star. Noah owns a pie shop and I think her car breaks down in his like driveway, and she ends up staying there while she's kind of trying to hide from her life as a singer, and they end up falling for each other. And I will say what I loved about this one is the third act conflict made sense, and they were like actual adults and they communicated, and I loved that. It was so refreshing in a book. So that is this one. This one follows Noah's sister, Annie, and Amelia's bodyguard, Will. And basically Annie doesn't have that much experience of dating, so Will agrees to teach her how to date, and she's a florist, and it's just so cute. It's just so cute. And also, come on, the cover is just perfect. And then the final one follows one of his other sisters, so it basically follows Noah and his siblings. So this is about Emily and Jack, and they are both teachers, but also massive rivals. And basically Jack is a best-selling author and Emily is trying to write a romance book, and she doesn't realise that he is like one of her favourite authors. And yeah, again, an amazing summer read. And again, these are all small town and they just have like the cutest, funniest small town vibes. So summery, so cute. Just again, summer perfection. Now, I am a firm believer of in the summertime we should all be reading a cowboy romance. So first cowboy romance series I have to talk about is the Rebel Blue Ranch series by Lila Sage. Please ignore that my Wild and Wrangled, no, not Wild and Wrangled, Lost and Lassoed copy is different to all the others. This is the US Barnes & Noble exclusive, and then these are all the UK versions. But this again is just a great, short, fast-paced cowboy romance series. I'll briefly run through the tropes if I can remember them. So this one is brother's best friend. That's all you need to know. Then we have these two have like a one-night stand and then they have to work together. Now, you all know what I'm gonna say. Single dad. And she's the nanny, so come on. This one is kind of childhood lovers broke up, reconciling. God. But any Lila Sage book is bound to make you have a good time. Oh my god, the Tower of Books is falling. But yeah, Lila Sage's books are just such great summery reads. Again, like a cowboy romance, like they're just perfect for summer. And obviously, I can't bring up cowboy romances without mentioning the OGs. Chestnut Springs! Again, anyone who knows me knows this is one of my favourite series of all time. Elsie Silver is my favourite author of all time. I love Elsie Silver. I swear she puts drugs in her books because they're all so addictive. This is just the best series if you want something summery, fast-paced. You'll get so invested. So again, I'll briefly run through each of the books. So Flawless follows Rhett and Summer. Rhett is a bull rider, yeah, a professional bull rider, and then Summer is, I believe, like a PR rep, and she's there to kind of help him fix his image, and it's just great. I mean, come on. And we have Heartless, which is my personal fave, and I bet you can guess why. Single dad trope. This follows Cade and Willa, who are one of my favourite book couples of all time. Cade is like the grumpy single dad. Willa is just chaos, but she's his son's nanny and also Summer's best friend. And yeah, they just have the best dynamic. It's such a fun read. Then we have Powerless, which follows Jasper and Sloane. These two were childhood best friends / lovers, and then Sloane gets engaged, but then on her wedding day, I'm pretty sure she like runs off and Jasper is kind of there to save her. And again, I'm sure you can guess what happens from there. But there's also forced proximity in this book. He's also an ice hockey star, so for the ice hockey girls, this one is like summer and ice hockey, so what more can you want? Then we have just one of the most perfect books ever, Reckless, which follows Theo and Winter. They have a one-night stand and Winter gets pregnant, but because Theo is also an international or a professional bull rider, he doesn't see that she tried to call him and tell him that she was pregnant, so she has the baby. He comes back, he's like, something's not adding up here, and he is like, I want to be a dedicated dad, I want to be there for you, I want to be there for our daughter. And oh my god, he is perfection. He is perfection. He is the definition of, you know, that TikTok trend at the moment where it's like bark like you want it. He literally barks. That's all I'm gonna say. You will become obsessed. Then we have Hopeless, which is about Beau and Bailey. Bailey is kind of from like a rough family in Chestnut Springs, and Beau is a veteran who has just come home from a war zone and he has some pretty bad PTSD. And they kind of like find each other because they're both kind of, I guess, looking for like peace in this world that doesn't really feel very like peaceful to them. And I think they end up living together, I'm pretty sure. Oh, this one is also fake dating. He agrees to like be fake engaged to her to improve her reputation. And again, with fake dating, it's the whole, do they love it? Did they not? Are they pretending? Are they not? You'll love it. So if for some reason you have been living under a rock and you haven't yet picked up the Chestnut Springs series, what are you doing? Pick it up. And then the final series I'm going to talk about today, I do actually have, but I'm not going to get it down because I know I'll make a mess. So I'll put the images up on the screen somewhere. And that is the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy by Stephanie Garber. This is, I don't even know how to describe it, the most like whimsical, magical fantasy that just kind of feels like a fairy tale. It follows Evangeline and Jax, and I don't even know how to describe it, but as a fantasy goes, I feel like fantasies normally feel very like autumnal or wintry, whereas I feel like because of how whimsical this trilogy is, it feels quite summery to me. I read most of them in summer and I had the best time. But you will fall in love with Evangeline and Jax. He is like this really grumpy like god, and she is like the most optimistic kind of like sunshine girl, and they basically make a plan to break this curse together, and just a lot happens and you just have to read it to find out. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But yeah, those are all the books that I recommend for summer. So if you enjoyed this video, please let me know, and if you end up picking up any of these books, let me know your thoughts. I genuinely would love to hear what you all think about them and whether these were good recommendations. I personally think they are, but obviously we all have different opinions on books, so I'm very intrigued to see what you guys think. But if you enjoyed, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below any recommendations you might have for me and any other videos that you want to see in the future. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you again next week. Bye!